record on this computer. Okay, we'll start in 60 seconds. That gave me enough time to make sure I remembered that Stoyan is from New Bulgarian University. So just wanted to make sure I did not misremember that. And we've got the Raz and his team from Sweden. And just a quick introduction. I had to build a new meetup for this group, which I'm happy about. This is a group of people who are teaching using Databricks, not teaching Databricks, but teaching using Databricks. And we've had a lot of great community activity and contributions. And Raz and I thought it would be good to just talk about a general JSON notebook autograder that might be useful to more people than just Raz. So. And he's got his contributors with him at the screen. So I'll turn it over to them first. I'm the moderator, and I'll try to get to the questions, post any questions in the chat channel. And I think we can just answer them real time. Maybe if somebody, I guess if the questions come across, then I'll try to intervene and get them answered in real time without interrupting the flow. And we'll have about 30 minutes, I think, on the autograder. And then I'll talk a little bit about Solutions Accelerators, and then we'll wrap up. And I will post the recording online. So probably early next week. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Raz and his team.
Okay, thank you. So can you hear me? Okay, so I'm Raz. I'm at the Map Department at Uppsala University. I'm also affiliated with Combient Mix. It's an AI hub of a lot of companies in Sweden and Finland. And with me today, we have Christopher Thorpe and Oskar Osbrink. They worked heavily on the project, so I'm going to quickly turn it over to them to sort of show you the ropes. So this project originated from a sort of need to automatically grade pure Databricks notebooks, to save time. So just like Jupyter notebooks, we wanted to use the autograder to also include any JSON-based notebook format, including Databricks. And we have several contributors. So Suprarek was working on this, and Benny Ovlin, he's an assistant professor in mathematics in the department. He's contributed heavily to this, and several others, including Dan Lilja and Tilo Wiklund, who are PhD students, past PhD students in the department. And I will sort of give some props to the sponsors. So Combient Mix paid for a lot of the student time for the summers to do this, the last couple of summers. And Department of Mathematics also paid Suprarek. And the Voluntary Autonomous Software Program is a really big program in Sweden. They have over several hundred PhD students working on AI. And this graduate school also supported the program. Of course, AWS credits that are via Databricks University Alliance. And of course, none of this would be possible without Rob Reed's help here. So I'm going to step out after this slide. So here is the URL. So github.com, data science intro, GenJSONAutograder is the repo. It's really at like alpha stage. It's not even beta ready. So we do want to try to smooth this out and maybe help other people deploy it on their campuses. But it has all the pieces. And then there is the other repo for Canvas integration. So I'm assuming Canvas is the learning management system at a lot of schools. So this sort of interoperates with Databricks and Canvas. It's currently used in this PhD course. I won't go here. You can look at it. But it's also used in a master's course on Introduction to Data Science. That's pure Jupyter Notebook. Okay.
Hey, Roz, would it be
Yeah.
possible to just cut and paste those 4 links into the chat window at some point?
Yeah, sure.
It's a lot easier when the presenter does that than typing
Yes, sure. Let's see, copy link and then chat. Let's do this. Maybe I have to escape, I guess.
Try clicking on the window. And then
You can just copy all the text from the slide right into the chat. We can sort out the links.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, so there we go.
There we go.
That's the sort of PhD course. That's all Databricks. And then here's the one that's Intro to Data Science.
copy
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's Swedish. Oh, okay, there we go. So now I'm going to close this and continue. Start again.
Thank you.
Okay. No worries. So I am going to pass the stage to Oscar and Christopher. So,
all right, I'm Oscar. This is Christopher. We worked on this autograder a lot during the summer under the support of Combient Mix. So we took a bunch of code and refactored it into one package that works with support of the Canvas interface as well as a test course. Okay, so an overview, how does the autograder work? So students are given assignment notebooks and they upload their answers to Canvas, which is the learning management system. And then the autograder periodically downloads new student submissions and appends reference cells that will be used for grading and check their answers. And the modified notebooks are uploaded to a Databricks cluster and evaluated and run as a job. Then we will fetch the run notebook. We will remove the test cells so that student can see which the answers that are compared in the tests. We will score and feed and collect feedback and upload back to Canvas with a HTML response file. Yes.
So, from the instructor's viewpoint, then, how does the autograder work and how do they set it up? So there's some basic folder structures. They have to have a folder repo for the course and for the Canvas integration. And after that, they basically have to fill out some config files with the credentials for Canvas and Databricks. Once that is finished, the instructors will prepare a master notebook, which will contain like a full set of informations for like assignments to give to the students. From this big master notebook, several new types of assignment notebooks are generated that will be passed out to the students for writing their answers in and submitting for tests, exams, etc., etc. Optionally, all of this can be uploaded to be stored on the university's Databricks instance.
Or your preferred Databricks workspace.
Yeah.
For your assignment.
Yeah. Finally, then the generated assignment notebook is uploaded as some assignment 1 or 2 or 3 .tbc to Canvas that the student then downloads, and once they have supplied their submissions, sometime a grading script is set on that will automatically like fetch down new submitted student solutions.
Yes. Okay, so how does the autograder work for the student? So the student is given an assignment as a Databricks notebook that they can get from the assignment page in Canvas, which they download and upload to Databricks, where they fill in their answers. They download them and submit them to Canvas. And then after the grading has run its grading, the student receives a response in the form of an HTML file that they can open up and easily see how the grading went.
So to go into some more detail on exactly what this master notebook is, it's a regular Databricks.dbc notebook. So you actually construct it on the Databricks platform. But the only thing you need to do, besides from what you would do from a regular notebook, is that you tag each cell in the form of a specified comment on top. And these tags then will denote different cell types, such as problem cells, local test cells, capital test cells that the autograder uses internally to check the solutions, and then a solution cell, which represents one possible answer to any given problem in an assignment. Other than that, we also have assignment numbers and points for the system to keep track of. And if a cell is not tagged with any comment, this is read as a regular lecture cell where the instructor puts in code for show or links or other stuff like that. So once this master notebook has been prepared, then from it, we're able to generate new notebooks then for varying purposes. And the program does this generation basically by checking these tags and soon filtering. And after the generation has been done, these comments that the instructor put in will be hidden away and stored in the metadata field of the DBC JSON format for each corresponding cell. So here, for example, is I'm going to show a couple of example cells. So everything here is pretty standard, and besides the very top comment where you put in the specified tag then. So this would tag this cell in Databricks as a problem cell for assignment 1, problem 1, and this problem then will be worth 3 points in total. Here is, for example, one of these capital test cells, which is what the autograder will use internally to actually check the submitted solutions. And it's quite easily implemented in this case with some try and asserts that will either increase then the local points or keep them at the previous amount. And lastly, here is an example of a just solution cell, which here we have array 1, array 2, array 3, which wouldn't have been filled in when the students see them, but here they are given us oh, here are some answers. And these are good for the instructor to use in checking whether they have constructed the master notebook in a good way, if the correct amount of points are assigned, and so on and so on.
Yeah, so we can generate a notebook with only the solution cells and submit it as a perfect student, and see if you get all the points and the graders working correctly and the generation is working. So this is what we use to check that things are running smoothly. Okay.
So so two questions from the chat. If you have well, I see you're out of presentation mode. If you have a chance to share that first GitHub link in the chat window, that would be great. Great, thank you.
I guess I can, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. We can
also
send
the Canvas interface.
Yeah, might as well. Copy link. Oops.
Thank you.
I mean, it's all a bit fragile and very, very alpha. Okay, so we're working on the docs, but
Okay.
And then the second question was, does your autograder work with PySpark code or just Scala code?
Both Spark and PySpark, multiple languages in the same notebook.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so here we can show the notebooks.
We're going to show the notebook.
Yes. So this is a master notebook file that we used in the WASP course. Here we have assignment 1, problem 1, and where a student can fill in their solutions. Array 1, array 2. We have some descriptions of what to do. Here we have the local test cell that the students will have access to, that they can run and see that they are in a valid format. Here we have the constructed solution cell that the students will not see, but we generated to the solution notebook that we can use to check everything is running smoothly. We have capital test cell, just checking the answers when grading in Databricks. So yeah, we have problem 2. It has 4 points. Some more descriptions on how the students can solve it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for example, we go all the way to the bottom. Quickly, you can see that the nice thing about running the autograder in Databricks is we can have, problems that allow students to get into, say, ML pipelines where they can actually have input data as fairly large data sets that we can't quite do using the same toolchain by babbling into Zeppelin and running it on one of our local NUCs you can see in the background cluster, because we want to be able to train the students to have input data for the assignments that are actually quite big. So they, so they're just sort of, yeah, that's the main advantage of this.
Yes, and here we can see, for example, one of the then generated notebooks. So this here, as you can see in the top of the cells now, the comments have disappeared. So they've been stored in the metadata tags now instead. And they have also been replaced by automatically produced headers. So this is more like something that the student would see then as an actual assignment notebook. So what is kept then is the questions themselves and some local tests for the student to run. Just, again, to make sure that they actually submit answers in a valid format. Quickly then, some of the other generated kinds of notebooks. This is one which has problem cells, local tests. Let's see. Well, kind of similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Here's the solution. Yeah, and this is a generated one which has all the solution cells instead.
Yes.
So it's one set of perfect solutions. So we could actually, for example, submit this solution as a pretend student, in Studio or Canvas, and then we can test our autograder and we can make mistakes and make sure the autograder returns partial credit and things like this.
Okay, let's continue. So now that we've generated the notebooks and we understand how they work, so instructors view, how about the grading? So we have the script that periodically checks Canvas for the submissions. We have a time interval for every 30 minutes. When one or several is found, we download it and we add the capital test cells before submitting to Databricks, where we spin up the cluster with the combined notebook. It's computed as a job. We download it, again, convert it to JSON format. We remove the content of the test cells where we just keep the points that they acquired. And we write a response file to the student canvas, the HTML file that we mentioned earlier.
So we're going to do some more demos now. Parts of it we showed, but how about we show the Canvas page?
Yes. Okay. So this is the, oh, sorry, the canvas. We can show the, we can show this. Okay. So this is the canvas interface repo. This was developed mainly by Benny and also Raz, I think. Yeah. Which we use to communicate with the canvas platform. Yeah. We have the repo here for the general JSON notebook grader, where we have the config files.
Yeah, you can show that and click it. So those are the main template files you can copy without the dot template, and then this is the main things you will need to touch, right?
Yes. So we the API key for Canvas. We say where the problem test notebook is, which we will get the test files from. We have some cluster ID, cluster name, and we have workspace where we will want to upload and download from like
in Databricks.
In Databricks, exactly. So like an assignment folder or something. We can show the other config file.
And this config notebooks JSON template is mostly used for the generating part, to specify more, like if you want to do Databricks formats, you put the formats, etc., etc.
Yes. So here, the notebook grader is the package, the actual grader, where we have assignment notebook with Databricks format, and IDS is Intro to Data Science, which is Jupyter notebooks. And then we have the autograder, the same deal here. You have the main autograder, Jupyter autograder, Databricks autograder, and we have some code to communicate with the Python REST API to Databricks to run jobs and start a cluster. Yes. Okay. So here is DB assignment notebook. This is the class for Databricks assignment notebook, which we will handle in JSON format, where some main functions would be add. So we can take a notebook, a student notebook, and we add the test cells of another notebook or of a problem test notebook. So before submitting for grading, we can extract the results after grading has been run. So this would be points or any feedback or any errors. We have two notebook, which will it will create a notebook in JSON format with the help of NB as JSON. Yes.
And like stands for the Databricks grader, the autograder class here. We have some methods, for example, like the part that is responsible for writing the response file that is uploaded to the student. We have the main method in this class, however, is the save run notebook, which is the part that is actually responsible for submitting to Databricks.
Yes.
And
so it takes a notebook in JSON format, and we convert it to Databricks.dbc before uploading it for grading. And it's also responsible for starting the cluster and running the job and stuff like that.
So let's see, for example, then what a student would see. Go to the student view. So this is the Canvas platform that is currently used like in Uppsala. And we're currently in the student's view. So this is how it would look like. You have a bunch of assignments to choose from, some details and instructions and due dates, and then often a download link for the actual DBC.
Yes. Okay.
And you can see here, so this is what the instructor would see, right? So it's just standard Canvas stuff. So you can put whatever you want. And this assignment_1.dbc, that's the one that's auto-generated. This is the student problem notebook. And then, of course, you have to put the total number of points. And yeah,
Yes.
and you restrict the upload file type to DBC. For some technical reasons, it's yeah, you don't allow HTML or .scala because it's yeah. Okay.
You want to go
Um,
this thing?
so
Yeah, we can do
yeah,
yeah.
I guess we can try to run the grader.
We submit an assignment.
We can submit. So we go into this test final assignment, and we can submit the solution notebook. Submit assignment.
So we're pretending to be a student with the perfect possible solutions for every problem here.
Yes. Okay. And we can start the Databricks CLI interface.
This is a very rough work in progress, but the point is that the instructor then should be able to basically do everything you need to do through a very simple interface like this. With some functionality has been implemented. And,
yeah. So we can go to generate. We can choose if it's assignment notebook or course notebooks that would just contain the untagged cells. So we want to create some assignments. We only have assignment 1 for now. So yeah, we can generate. We can choose to generate all of them or just the problems or solutions or the problem tests.
And then optionally upload this to our DBC workspace folder.
And we can see if this works now. Okay, writing source file. So we have a link to our course and then a folder generate material. You can specify this how you like. And then we can hopefully upload it to the Databricks workspace, which will go to the specified workspace from the first JSON file. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
we can actually show it, I think.
Yes.
So if we go to Databricks and then to our workspace.
So this is a folder for the assignment. It's called the same thing as in Studio. Here we put the master notebook. So before generation, we will fetch this master notebook. And if we upload the autograder generate assignments, they will go into this folder.
Yeah.
Yes. And then
we hit back to the main menu. Let's say now that we want to grade the submission that we just recently did. We'll hit the grading button. And it will start the grading script. And you see it finds Oscar Osbrink submitted solution.
yes.
We will get some printouts for now, but the important part is that the cluster is up and running on Databricks.
Yes. These prints also help when if there's an error or something, we can see in which stage something wrong has happened.
Yeah, and if the cluster is not up and running, say some student submits it at 2 a.m., then it will just start the cluster.
Yes. And we, for the WASP course, we have this grader running on a separate unit that can go by itself, just stand on for the duration of the course or however long you want, as long as it has been set up correctly.
Okay, so the grading was successful and the resulting response have now been uploaded to the student's Canvas page, which we should see here to the right side. So,
okay,
we've done a lot of submissions.
Okay, I'll just take this one.
Yeah, so here we allow students to submit infinitely often. It's preferred in Sweden.
Okay, so here we have, for the student view, they would not see solution here. But since we upload the solution file, this is what's.
Yeah.
So we run through the problem. The capital test cell that tested the answers it's still here, but we removed all the code, and the thing we have left is the number of points you have scored for this problem and the number of points you have accumulated thus far.
Yeah, and as you can see here, it says like the number of Scala points specifically. So we do like this split up so we can have like different kinds of languages on the same assignment notebook.
Yes. So same here, the next assignment or next problem, the next test. Okay, we got 4 out of 4. Now we have 7 points. We can go to the bottom and see here the number of points you scored in total for our problems in Python is 0 out of 0 because we have no, yeah.
We didn't have any
This is only Scala. So, and then we have 21 out of 21 in Scala, and the number of points you've scored in total for this entire set of problems is 21 out of 21. Yes.
And also this is archived in Databricks, right? So
Yeah,
you can
good, yeah,
actually-
good point. So this is the same. Here in the same folder, test final assignment, we have grading where some of the grading stuff will be run, and we have save here grading archive, and we have me a lot of times. So here we have the so this is not the response files. This is the
it's the notebook that the grader tried to run or successfully run on the cluster.
yes. So the test notes are still here. So if a student has some complaints or you want to go back and look at it, you can see the student answer, and you can also see the test cells. You can run them, test them for yourself. Yeah.
So it's a way to, you know, in case needed, like manually also correct a student submission if something would not like actually pass through the system.
Yes. And also worth mentioning is that these response files are also stored locally in the grader repo.
Yeah, I think a lot of this started because as far as I understand the Uppsala University policies, we really need to archive things locally, especially grading and assignments and so on for quite so many years into the future. So everything is also always archived locally, and so you can remove them, and optionally in Databricks.
Yes. Do you have anything else?
I guess we go back to the presentation start.
Okay, then we have, that's it for us.
Yeah, I don't know how much time we took, but maybe it went too fast, but we have time for questions.
So can I ask some questions?
Yes, please.
Oh, yes. So I want to say this is very interesting application. So I just have some question. So when you're doing the autograde, are you using Databricks? You're using Databricks Enterprise, not a Community Edition, right?
Yeah.
So I think for me, more logical way currently, you say when the student upload assignment, you're going to immediately turn on the grader graded. So can you do the batch processing? For me, I would like to say I have a due date. After due date pass, then it's possible to automatically submit like a bunch of files to do automatic grading, or you do. Can you do the batch grading? Basically, what I'm asking.
Yeah. Okay. So let me take a few things. So in this framework, students can actually work in the Community Edition. In fact, the first several assignments in this course, students work in the Community Edition, and they submit a Studium. It's just that the grading, auto grading, is done in the Enterprise because you need tokens and stuff like this, right?
Right.
And the other quick comment is, in this setting, we allow unlimited attempts for the students. And then we only grade every 30 minutes. You can set it to 10 minutes, whatever. So then anytime a new assignment by the same or a different student is there, before the deadline, it'll automatically do the grading and the whole process, right? But then the grading will automatically shut down when it's past the deadline. So if students submit after the deadline, then grading will not happen, right? So then, is that what you mean by batch grading?
I mean, batch grading can submit 30 student work, and then this auto grade turn on the cluster once, grade this 30 student.
Yeah, we can have millions of students. It doesn't matter. We just need Rob Reed to give us access to the enterprise shop. Yeah, it scales, right? It totally scales.
So once you finish grading, do you send the student grade automatically put back into Canvas, or so the grade automatically goes into the Canvas, the assignment you send out?
Exactly. You can show again the student view after the response. So that's actually the Studium view. That's yeah. So this is what the student would see, right?
Yeah.
and they basically can see the different times they've submitted and what they got each problem. So often several students submit a few times, especially the first time you make an assignment, there are bound to be bugs. So your sort of quick students will figure out what the bugs are. So yeah.
So I think it's very interesting application you created. It's also quite complex. So for the people who wanted to implement this, especially for instructors, you have some like a step-by-step instruction. I know you demonstrate a few Databricks configuration. So if there's a document to share like step-by-step as an instructor, like how you set this up, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, so we're working on simplifying this day by day. A big part of it is the CLI that we showed. Like you can just press generate, and so once you set up, the goal is to once you set up the config files, you should be ready to go with the CLI. So yeah, we're updating REMIs. Yeah,
I mean, it needs a bit more tender love and care or TLC before it can be smooth for the instructors who only want to do the CLI. And I think we need like actually at least one or two instructors in their own Canvas interfaces at their own schools, with and without AWS enterprise access by the University Alliance to actually field test this, because we need at least 2 volunteers from the instructor's side, right? Then we can try and smooth it out a bit.
Yeah, so the another thing I see is I don't know whether you can grade on structured problem. Like I know you already have a fixed solution, but for the course, like I'm teaching, if it's a capstone or something, I'm looking, there's no any fixed answer. We're just looking student to try different model, or maybe there's some guideline to say your performance needed to go off certain level.
Can you go to the Canvas key? So actually, I must say that this is a semi-autograder. So the peer review assignment, would that be? Yeah, so for example, we have a HTML version of the assignment, right? Where we give various diagrams and links, and students are supposed to say, go through 6 actions and 6 transformations in Spark in Scala or Python, and do a deep dive, and then they can go and fill out cells and so on. And then they can submit this as HTML, and that's a peer-reviewed version. So, 2 peers reviewing each one, and then they can actually basically say, did they dive deep enough? Did they learn something? So you can do all of that, but you don't need the autograder for it. You can just use, Canvas and pure HTML, right? So peer review is possible. The other thing is the semi-autograding part is, say, one of the assignments, not in this course, but in a different course, asks them to read this article about anatomy of AI or ethical AI and various, and then they're supposed to write like a 2-paragraph essay of 200 words or something, right? After they've read this. But you can have these automatic assignments a bit before or after. Say assignment 3 is actually read this essay and share your thoughts. Then the autograder will complete and come, right? And then you, as an instructor, before it gets uploaded into Studium, has a chance to interact in Databricks, at this intermediate stage where you can read that essay, assuming it's not peer-reviewed, right? And then you can sort of start another cell and write something manual, right? There you can assign points again manually. And then you can continue this process, and it can actually come back to Studium and give you this semi-autograded assignment where you're actually, you understand what I mean? So that is part of the architecture, but not for this specific course.
Okay, thanks. So not everything can be auto-graded. With some parts still need a professor to review, to give a
of course. Yeah, I mean, at least in this course, the final evaluation, the main evaluation, 50% of the grade is student projects. So they actually do projects and presentations and put their talks in YouTube and so on, right? So the autograder is just to make sure they kind of keep up with syntax on time, basically.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking at the participant list, and most of the people on the participant list have a Databricks premium account with AWS, so that's useful. And I was watching the take a 30-minute break. I think the cluster may need to go get a cup of coffee or something. So, well, thank you so much. I'm going to switch gears, and one of the things that the instructor community asks for a lot is, do you have examples of things that we can teach? And I just want to run through a couple of options there. We've got this URL called databricks.com/learn, which is, I refer to it a couple of times a week, at least, when people ask me questions. It's in the chat window. And it's just it's a top level corporate view of, hey, I'm getting started with Databricks. What are some of the assets that I can look at to just get started? And if you scroll down, you'll see a link to University Alliance down there somewhere, but there's something called a notebook gallery, which has some curated stuff. That's a technical term, stuff. Just example notebooks, and you can sort it by technology and use case. Not all of these notebooks are going to run in Community Edition, but at least you get an idea of places to start if you want to just start talking about MLflow or Delta Lake. And then there at the bottom, there are two use cases on some retail and finance examples. So this has all been great, but recently there was a colleague that reached out and said, we've got these Solutions Accelerators. And I'm like, okay, that's great. What's a Solutions Accelerator? And it's a more fully fleshed out version of a notebook. So when Databricks goes and talks to large customers, one of the ways we try to talk to large customers has to do with connecting the technology to business value. So the Solutions Accelerators are specific business use cases that have enough stuff behind them to where our field team can go out and talk to commercial customers about what Databricks can do for them in this particular space in terms of the business value. And why is this useful to you? Because there's notebooks, there's repos, there's blog posts, and it's a more sort of fully fleshed out version of the /learn or the /notebook gallery. So I'm gonna present, let's see. Solutions Accelerator. Let me just separate this window out so you guys don't have to look at my email. One more time. So I'm going to talk through this really quickly, but you've got the link there in the chat window. That's sort of behind the scenes on this. So they exist because the company wants to develop things that help get customers getting value out of Databricks faster. And in this particular instance, fine-grained demand forecasts, which I always loved as a business analyst. So we've got some pre-built code, some sample data, and step-by-step instructions that are already in a Databricks notebook. So generating more accurate forecasts is particularly important to businesses right now. And yeah, just some great assets there, and including some videos which you could use as well. So if you've got an explainer video that can help on the instructional side, and then I just want to go through, let's see, slides 10 and 11. There's a pretty good hierarchy. I think there are 50 some odd Solutions Accelerators out there. and you can sort them by use case or context. And the other thing, kind of like the autograder and open source in general, you can build capstones around a use case, or you can say, what's missing? What's missing is this particular use case, and build capstone around the assets that could be built into a solution accelerator. Or you could take one that's there and then alter it and then submit it back. So it's a nice sort of exchange. I know a lot of people ask me, well, you could do a hackathon around a solution accelerator. So it's a great way to find examples that are useful to Databricks, the company, not because I want you to do something useful for Databricks, but because if you engage with these resources, then there's a lot of excited people on my end who say, oh, great. We've got some solutions architects, we've got some data, we've got some things. So it's a nice sort of middle ground to connect between what you're trying to teach that's relevant and getting more company resources on the Databricks side who are interested in participating and assisting. So, Lloyd, I don't know how many times a week I cite the work we did with your capstone projects at the University of Rochester. But I'm always looking for ways to get things connected that don't involve a lot of lawyers and NDAs. So anyway, just a quick overview. Any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. But I just wanted to make the Solutions Accelerators sort of introduce them to you in the, find my Zoom window now. I don't know where my Zoom window went. Just introduce them to the audience. So. That, I think, is it for that. There we go. All right. Done and done. All right. So any other questions? I appreciate your time in the audience, and Oscar and team, thank you so much for the work that you put in. It was fascinating to see the flow and the thought that went in, and I'm still embarrassed, Roz, that we haven't found a way internally to get around the cell kicking out an error and not shutting things down. So I'll keep asking those questions. It'd be nice to not have that shut things down. So
yeah, I mean, that's an important point about the autograder. So because Databricks, for security reasons, stops on the first error when you submit a job, we actually instruct students that this is what Databricks autograder does. So you need to go and run all cells, and the first cell, it stops. It will not grade beyond it. And then if they don't know how to solve a problem, they can comment the whole problem out, so that they know this, right? Which is a additional instruction we put in there. But that's okay. So far, no worries. We have 43 students, and they're all going through this fine.
I think this is expected for any program, right? Like Python, when your line, like the first line is not working, it's going to automatically stop. It's not going to go past unless you build some solution to say, if there's an error, you're able to change student code or bypass or something. So
yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's a matter of time, right? I mean, at some point it's okay not to keep spoon feeding the students. I mean, they have to live their own life. You can just tell them this is the breaks, because one could do a lot of go grab it and then put it back. We don't have resources for it. It's just a couple of months, bunch of us. So I would say it's not a big deal, even if I don't think Rob Databricks will change that policy, because it's a sensible policy for security reasons. It's not the deal breaker, I think. So I have a very quick question before. So is anyone here, faculty, interested in trying out this autograder for some course next spring? Like, January, February or something. You have a course and you want to try it out and you want a little bit of support to smoothly run this. Is there anyone?
We're cut off at, I mean, I'm committed conceptually. The problem is we don't use Canvas at U of R. Unfortunately, we use Blackboard. And so I have to look at it more deeply to see if some of the job submission and things like that are interesting or could be useful, but I probably won't get the time to dig into it. And we're cut off.
No, yeah, if you use a different LMS,
Yeah.
can you share the link to your LMS on the chat?
Yep.
Because it may be fairly easy or not. I like the challenge of allowing multiple learning management systems. And
Yep.
because what Canvas integration does is quite minimal. It's a very minimal part of the whole thing.
I would be interested in learning more about it. The next time I will likely be personally teaching a course using Databricks would likely be next fall. We'll have a couple of sections, I think, offered in the spring that taught by adjunct instructors. I don't know, I'd be hesitant to try something like real new in those sections. I prefer to try it, like give it a trial myself first.
Okay. I mean, the other thing we could do is those of us who don't have the enterprise edition could actually keep running things in Community Edition, and Rob has a test shard that we could just keep running, right? So for example, a lot of the assignments can be easily done in the Community Edition, right? It's AWS headache and so on. Then we could set it up so that each instructor's students autograding is done on Rob's enterprise shard on the back end. And there, again, I can say that there's a lot of cost-saving measures one could do, because we're not using Databricks jobs clusters right now. You're using Databricks' interactive clusters. So there can be cost savings and things like this, but these are details.
It may not be beautiful. Next, in the spring, I will teach data science capstone. Usually students working for company project. So I don't think it's a good starting point to try. But if like there's a few faculty are interested in, maybe we can just test your product, maybe again, maybe in the fall. And if I feel comfortable, because I think I need to first learn, feel comfortable, so I can incorporate it in my course. So there's some potential, like maybe in the fall semester, not in the spring.
Okay.
All right. So I'll go ahead and wrap up. We've got another talk on the meetup link next week. This will be on the value of the Delta Lake transaction log. I find this fascinating. I've got a colleague, Matthew Powers, talking about Delta Lake, where it came from. And Delta Lake is basically open source architecture. Store anything you want in a Delta Lake, and we write metadata about the data that goes in so that we can start to make sense of it without having to schematize or sort or do anything to the data when it's coming in. So I put the link to the next meetup in there. So it's a completely different thing, but when you think about what you could be teaching to students, that's sort of moving this whole conversation forward on the data science, data management realm at scale. I get excited about that because it really is, companies are using that to make significant gains in how they sort of architect and manage and get value out of their data. And at some point, Matthew, who's an excellent communicator, we're going to do a whole sort of conceptual map that we can break down into a series of videos and cognitive sound bites that you can then use and repurpose in your lectures when you want to start talking to your students about, what's a data warehouse, what's a data lake, and what's the deal with all of this stuff? Because I'm old enough to remember hierarchical and relational databases being cool, and then things scale. And then I'm also old enough to remember that I'm like, what is big data? And then combining the two. I mean, essentially it's, customer user-driven transactions getting thrown into the same mix as the hierarchical data, and how companies at scale are making sense of it. So anyway, we're going to come up with a good set of instructional resources around that, just so that if you don't have it already, it's something that you can just take and repurpose in terms of slides and concepts. So anyway,
what are the license, Rob, for this? What are the licensing terms?
For this, meaning whatever we generate.
Yeah, like say I want the students to maybe watch this thing. I have some project students, and then use the content and learn and stuff like this.
It's all in the open source realm. So the licensing is free. I don't know. Historically, as open as possible. There's nothing proprietary about it. And in fact, Matthew's more on the OSS. He's on the OSS side, not so much the Databricks proprietary side. So anyway, it's a fine line, but in this case, it's pretty clear and bright that whatever we generate is for public domain use.
Awesome.
And if not, then let me know if there's particularities to Sweden and uses, and we'll just make sure we adhere to those. I think those will be an asymptote of excellence in terms of how open it is.
No, we all have to just worry about US copyright laws,
Right. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time. Oscar, and I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, gentleman on the left.
Christopher.
Christopher, Oscar. Excellent work. I followed most of it, and we'll see you all next time. Take care.
Bye.